Hey, what is up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Blossom here once again, and I'm back for some more yet again for the likes of the Maxi Toys videos. And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to more Let's Play of New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe for the Nintendo Switch. So, last time we've actually completely done with every single part in New Super Mario Bros. U mode, in this case New Super Mario Bros. U story mode, and as you can see we've got ourselves 5 stars and every single flags has been shown up. So even then though, yeah, everything else will be all come together for this point. So today for this episode, here's the fact that we're about to be getting things started by the forms of the new Super Luigi U story mode. So even then though, that things can get a little bit more different than the forms of New Super Mario Bros. U mode, which I'm sure many people already know this at this point. And yeah, I'm really loving this main menu system right now, because even then though, it feels a little bit more fleshed out compared to the forms of the Wii U version, because I still found the Wii U version's main menu screen is just a little bit bare, but a little bit more bland as you expect. But either way though, enough about this little jibby jabber, so let's go and get started with the new Super Luigi U. And yes, just like any forms of the DLC for New Super Mario Bros. U, it takes place in almost any rainbow. So even then though, New Super Luigi U is a bit trickier than New Super Mario Bros. U, but you can jump higher, but then as a result, if you're running from left or right, sometimes Luigi or the others if that one point or another can scuttle out a little bit. So even then though, but I found this really disappointing though, compared to the forms of the announcement trailer for this, is the fact that they promised us about the fact that Mario was supposed to be a playable character on this particular mode as well, but it turns out it wasn't. So even then though, always have to stuck with, well, we still have the same usual characters like Luigi, Blue Toad, Yellow Toad especially, for the alteration colors, especially Nabbit, but the newest one is obviously Toadette, to demonstrate of how PJet actually works for this majority of this new Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe game. So even then though, obviously we're about to get started right there, so even then though that obviously the cutscene is pretty much exactly the same as New Super Mario Bros. U, but obviously Mario wasn't on here, besides his cap was being left out in the dining table. So obviously that there's not much else you can really say. When it comes to New Super Luigi U's opening scene, it's just, you know, pretty much exactly the same, and still I really love the fact that with the HD Rumble feature, and specifically on this scene alone, it looks like I actually felt it for what is gonna happen. So yeah, it seems promising enough. And once again, Luigi, Toadette, and Yellow Toad especially. What I found was kind of odd is the fact that when you select Blue Toad, Blue Toad doesn't show up in any of the cutscenes whatsoever. Only Yellow Toad can, because obviously because of how the fact that with the promotions and all that stuff, or maybe some little brief changes around here. So, and like on the original New Super Luigi U on the Wii U, basically Nabbit will decide to join in throughout the majority of the venture, because either way though, I'm presuming Nabbit is, well, Mario's been replaced as Nabbit, so that's why, you know, you can't usually select Mario throughout anymore, because even then it's Luigi's turn to do his own adventure this time, but on a 2D perspective, rather than being on the mansion for this whole entire time, unlike, you know, Luigi's Mansion, including the 3DS port of the game, especially with, well, let's just say, Luigi's Mansion 2, aka Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon, and especially the upcoming Luigi's Mansion 3 for the Nintendo Switch. So even then though, we don't know exactly what the North American's final name is going to be, but I'm guessing it might be something related to the hotel perspective. Well, at least we don't know exactly for sure just yet. So even then though, still the usual same thing as how it does it for New Super Mario Bros. U. We're still traversing through 8 different worlds, plus one special world, for those if you haven't seen our Let's Play of New Super Luigi U from before on the Wii U version of the game. You should probably look it up for yourself as far as we can consider. So if you get the idea, basically New Super Luigi U is exactly like New Super Mario Bros. U, but except you have lesser time than in forms of how it does in the regular levels from New Super Mario Bros. U. And to make matters even much more tougher and challenging than in forms of the original New Super Mario Bros. U, in this case the New Super Mario Bros. U story mode, basically they did have offer you to give you enough time to be able to actually explore for the majority of the levels, like for instance star coins, especially noticeable they have checkpoints, whilst the New Super Luigi U mode, and especially with New Super Luigi U in general, does not have any of the checkpoints. Well, At least for the most part, anyway, because either way, you know, you get the idea. So obviously today was actually forms of, the 20th of January in 2019, so we've only got 9 more days to go until, well, technically speaking, almost 8 days left for those of you lived in everywhere else by the forms of the Kingdom Hearts 3's release. So even then, I'm still looking forward to it, and I'm really hyped for able to actually play in that game because I was so desperate to able to actually play in that game. Well, not long now until when it's upon releasing, so still have no idea why they didn't saw the light of day on the Nintendo Switch, but either way though, at least in the forms of 350 over 2 days, and Recoded, and 3D Dream Drop Distance are in the Nintendo platforms on the Nintendo DS and Nintendo 3DS, but somehow they completely ignored the Nintendo Wii, and especially with the Nintendo Wii U, just because I think it was actually something to do with the technical difficulties with the motion controls or something, or perhaps maybe they can't be bothered to be able to actually release those on the Nintendo Wii or the Wii U because of how the fact that, well, I just don't know what to think about it. So, another thing as well to point things out right away is the fact that, if you couldn't tell already, what this video consists of is the fact that, obviously, I'm going to be doing the exact same system as of how it does in New Super Mario Bros. U story mode. I'm going to be still switching between different characters in the, each with its own, different levels. So even then, I thought it was worth mentioning, for those of you who haven't, noticed something right from the start. And, whenever I played, Paper Mario for the N64 on my own time as the original cartridge version of that game, since I've already got that ever since the forms of like 2 days ago, apparently I discovered something about the fact that I actually come across into not 1, but 2 save files that's already been completed when it comes to like almost approaching to Bowser's Castle's chapter, which I was like, okay, that's the 3rd time that has happened to me whenever I brought some used N64 cartridge games. Like, it did happen to me one time on Super Smash Bros. For the N64 and stuff, and that did manage to allow me to actually get every single fighters, including that one unlockable stage, and especially noticeable with Mario Party 2, that it gives me the accessibility with all 6 boards, mainly by the forms of Bowser Land and all that stuff. But one exception, however, though, is the forms of the minigame coaster, which, you know, ability to allows you to buy, you know, item minigames, and especially noticeable with the battle minigames. But at least I managed to able to accomplish those. So even then, though, that could be, you know, mind of its own thing. But I haven't really got into the forms of, well, so far I've managed to create my own profile, in this case my own fresh file, I should say. I didn't erase the forms of the final, like, I don't know. So as you can see, that since you're going to be playing as Toadette in any of the new Super Luigi U levels, as you can see, that we did have more time, and I believe that could be the same applies for Nabbit as well, which I'm sure enough we'll get to that whenever we're able to do so. So even then though, let's go ahead and just actually access to the secret exit. Yeah, in order to actually get the secret exit on this level though, you can do either 2 different methods. For number 1, you can either use this flying squirrel power-up, or you can able to actually use the easiest method by simply playing as Toadette and transforming yourselves into Peachette, and that way you can able to glide through for a large gap of that bottomless pit, and then that way you can able to not only give you a secret exit, but it's also the 3rd and final star coin as well. So even then though, just like before, I'm going to be going for 100% on this this particular story mode. So even then though, don't expect me to able to die several times because I have the same issue with the forms of the majority of the new Super Mario Bros. U story mode offers, because I'm seriously getting tired of by the forms of like performing a lot of mid-air whenever I was trying to able to actually just to be like, oh, I don't know, what do I think about it? But anyways, let's move on to the secret level in Acorn Plains, Cheap Chomp Chase, which either way though, I believe this level will actually feature the Cheap Chomp, or Cheap Chomp, as far as I can say about it, just like the ones and how it does in that one level in Superstar Road, Dash 3 and stuff like that. So let's go ahead. Oh, shoot. I did not even notice that. Apparently that, Nabbits, somehow that Cheap Chomp have an ability to able to actually eat Nabbits. Okay, that's a bit odd. I'm guessing this might be the first step of New Super Luigi U, so again I do apologize by the forms of my lack of skills, but again this is all new to me. See, Fernando, that's only because, you know, the swimming controls with the forms of Toadette and especially Nabbit especially, it takes a bit of while and takes a lot of practice to get used to at this rate, because either way though, sometimes it just gives me a lot of death situations, especially noticeable how the fact that with the Tron era segments worth noting for, but nonetheless though, I'm usually more used to it, but most of the time didn't. Even then though, that's only because I was used to with the, you know, again, Luigi and Toad especially. I think that's the only two methods you can think of. If you ever play multiplayer in New Super Luigi U mode, in New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe game. Unfortunately though, for player 3 and player 4, at least in only 1 and 2 players, can able to actually access to both Toad and Luigi especially, but again, you can't usually choose these separate two colored Toads anymore, because you have to stuck with both Toadette and Nabbit if those two players are in player 3 or player 4. Well, at least for both anyway, just because of how the fact that, well, you always have to stuck with the most easiest players you can able to be offered. So, if you're really up for a challenge, well, tough luck, because either way though, you always have to be forced to play as, well, any forms of Toadette and Nabbit especially, because whilst new forms of the original New Super Luigi U game, at least for both player 1 and player 2 and player 3, they did have an option to able to actually just to select, well, player 1, but he forms just stuck with Luigi. And then, as a result, for player 2 and player 3, you're able to actually get those two Toads separate colors. But in the 4th player, on the other hand, though, they always have to stuck with Nabbit, so it makes it a little bit obvious. So, anyways, though, let's go ahead and get some of those power-ups. So let's switch back to Luigi, and then we can able to move on to the next level. So, yeah, that's as far as I can say how this will go. See, Fernando, let's see what items we've got. We got the 1-up mushroom, and especially with the super crown. So, man, I'm really looking forward to it for the forms of Kingdom Hearts 3. And not to mention, by the forms of that specific time, we only got 5 more days to go until the forms of Mario and Luigi Bowser's Inside Story plus Bowser Jr.'s Journey for the Nintendo 3DS will be released. So, that'll be, you know, the double RPG, or at least, to be more specifically, the biggest two RPG titles I'm going to be focusing on, which are, some days I usually go for Mario Luigi Bowser's Inside Story, plus Bowser Jr.'s Journey for the 3DS, whilst all the time will be Kingdom Hearts 3, and I was like, this is going to be a busy work for this point for me. Well, that could be same applies by the forms of, I still need to get back into the Paper Mario series at this rate, until before when the next Paper Mario game will be announced for the Switch, which I was really still hoping they'll bring back into the old school memories by the forms of like, or back in the old school days, by the forms of the next Paper Mario game, because they, at least in Super Mario Party, they did manage to bring back the classic roots, but on the other hand though, they felt pretty lacking with the forms of the number of boards you can able to play, like only 4, I mean seriously? Why couldn't I just bring back just only like 6 boards? At least in the forms of Mario Party 2 and Mario Party 3 especially, well, at least if you don't want to count those dual boards and all that stuff in Mario Party 3. And Mario Party 4 also has 6 boards, and then Mario Party 1 actually has 8 boards, so why couldn't it just double it up and then just make it, well, technically they are like 4 boards, but they all still pretty similar to one another, like in the forms of Mario Party mode and the Partner Party mode. See, and then note that, well, usually most of the time the board themes are incredibly similar to each other, but with the different mechanics they actually put up, so that could be only being one solution that I can think of, probably by the forms of at some point we'll get some DLC. Okay, that's enough, that's enough for you, Luigi, if you're able to keep on flying about. Okay, or it's just me, so, oh well, no big deal. So, oh, there's a flying squirrel power-up right there, or in this case, the acorn mushroom I need to fetch. So, once again, you weren't able to actually access to a Miiverse post, which is understandable because, you know, the Miiverse is pretty much dead, so, yeah, you probably expected to see how this all turns out. See, Fernando, unfortunately, there's not much else to talk about. See, Fernando, yeah, let's just move on to the forms of Acorn Plains, -3, into the forms of, well, let's move on to the forms of Rolling Yoshi Hills. See, Fernando, we can able to come across into Yoshi. So, and once again, I'm going to be able to alternate the colors between Yellow Toad and Blue Toad, as you can see on this footage right now. And yeah, you get the idea. So speaking of such, just like in new forms of how it does it in you know, whenever you play as Nabbit in one of the levels in both New Super Mario Bros. U and New Super Luigi U, if you complete any of the levels with Nabbit, that once again you can able to actually get yourselves the, well, the purple space and all that stuff instead of blue. However though, the only difference is between this game than the forms of in, oh crap, I lost Yoshi, so, whoops. In fact, there's actually another way that we could probably go and do that. Hold on, let me just grab the power block right here, and then just trying to take it... Okay, that thing just catch me off guard. Farewell, Monty Moles. Be gone. Or in this case, I might as well carry this right here. Now, if you lose Yoshi, well, it doesn't matter because... Boom! There you go. I'm a genius, aren't I? So... yeah, that's what I can really think about. So, yeah, anyways, about with the forms of playing as Nabbit and finish off the levels with Nabbit, the only major differences this time around, though, compared to New Super Mario Bros. U counterpart, normally I usually complete one of the levels, well, at least one level with Nabbit, and then I can go back into one of the levels, until whenever I'm able to actually just replace the purple space into blue space. But the difference is here is the fact that since there's going to be quite a few levels to play as Nabbit this time around, so this means I have to go through, like, let's just say sometimes 2, whilst other times 3, or in some cases 4 levels I have to revisit. So even then though, there's going to be rare occasions where I have to keep on doing that specific system. So even then though, that will take me a hell of a lot more time to able to actually just to get used to it, but at least I could be fine with that. But hey, on the plus side though, it doesn't affect the sparkles on the stars on your profile, which luckily for me, it doesn't happen on the forms of the New Super Mario Bros. U game. Well, at least if it does, then I'll be extremely ticked off by that, but on the other hand though, that it doesn't affect on me. So even then though, that would be pretty surprising actually. So here we go, on to the forms of, I'm not sure what that level is actually called though, because I know for the fact that it's been about, you know, 3 years since last time I've played New Super Luigi U. In fact, I believe Daffy Duck did manage to able to done New Super Luigi U before, but on the Nintendo Wii U version, and as a result, that he did manage to done that incredibly well. But despite the fact that we're going to be doing a switching characters mechanic once again, then in forms of New Super Mario Bros. U mode, so I thought to myself I might as well do the same thing from here. So, and then if I remember correctly, that Daffy Duck he usually done this game before back in I would say in December 2016, before Christmas time on that year, which truth be told, it might actually be true. So even then though, that makes it purely obvious. So, alright, so that's the forms of that specific level done. Let's move on to Nabbit, switching character system, and let's move on to the forms of Acorn Plains-5 on the forms of Piranha Gardens. So, or Piranha Gardens, I should say. Because obviously that this place is going to be filled with not only flowers, which, we'll admit though, it looks very pretty. Speaking of which, just that one thing I forgot to mention about this actually is the fact that the title screen of New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, it looks exactly identical to the New Super Luigi U's title screen, except the noticeable difference is obviously Mario joins the phrase, and second of all, the logo has been changed, and also the Nintendo copyright numbers has been indicated. Like, for instance, if you ever purchase both New Super Mario Bros. U and New Super Luigi U combo pack, or New Super Luigi U physical form separately, it usually normally says copyrights 2012 to 2013 Nintendo, but now in the forms of in New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, it's now copyrights 2012 to 2018. I have no idea why it does say 2018, despite the fact that this version came out during the likes of in 2019 recently, so at least it could have changed that. Well, that could be same applies for Mario Party the Top 100, but it's already too late for sure, so even then though, that could be a little bit of an error, so... Anyways, before we move on to the forms to the last level of Acorn Plains, let's go ahead and farm those extra lives, which just like before, again, it might be a little bit difficult to me though, because sometimes I usually get those Bowser orbs most of the time, which is always incredibly consistent for my skills department, but nonetheless though, I should able to actually gather as many of those extra lives as I could. Well, at least for the most part. Come on. Oh, I just missed a couple of them. Oh well, no big deal. And let's just go ahead and get ourselves, how much extra lives? Okay, 4. I might be alright with 4. I won't get as many of those extra lives, just like in New Super Mario Bros. U mode, but, I'll try my best if I'm able to actually get as many of those extra lives, including those, extra playable characters as well, so even then I might as well do that, so... Oh, seems like we have a one-on-one fight though, hey, Piranha Plants? Well, eat my baby Yoshis. Well, at least the baby Yoshis can do a lot of job, rather than just using the Starman right here, so... Oh, really? Do I get a mini mushroom for that? Oh, I kinda wish I just want to get something like better, like... For instance, the forms of the Super Crown would help, for Toadette anyway, and same applies by the forms of the Penguin suit and the Propeller suit, because even though, that again, just like in the forms of the original New Super Luigi U game, that you could able to actually access to those 2 power-ups from the start. So anyways, let's move on to the forms of Lemmy's Lights Out Castle, which everything else is all in dark! So, yeah, you get the idea with this solution. So, and also there are some rare occasions, and in this particular rendition of New Super Mario Bros. U, or in this case, New Super Luigi U, there's going to be a lot of Luigis around here, because this is originated to be celebrated by the forms of the 30th anniversary of Luigi back in 2013, which, you know, same applies for Luigi's Mansion 2, and especially notable for, well, I would say by the forms of, you know, New Super Luigi U, as I mentioned about this before, and especially notable with, you know, Mario Luigi Dream Team Brothers, because it usually focuses on Luigi, because, you know, multitude of Luigis. And, also by the forms of, Super Mario 3D Worlds, there are some, hidden Luigis around here too, and, especially notable for Dr. Luigi, which I still haven't got that game yet. I have no idea why. Probably because of how the fact that I was used to with, purchasing virtual console related things before we do our Let's Plays throughout, so even then, that's why I was able to actually just to hold on for a bit, and plus I still need to able to actually just to gather to ourselves, just trying to purchase by the forms of, my next purchase will have to be, Team Sonic Racing, by the forms of, you know, the PlayStation 4 and Nintendo Switch, well, at least to be more specifically the PS4 version, because I'll play that on my own time, and then the Nintendo Switch version, we'll probably go do a Let's Play on that, just like in the forms of, Sonic Mania, and especially notable with Sonic Forces, so even then though, I thought it's worth mentioning for this duel. And, that could be applied somewhat almost in, Crash Team Racing, Nitro Fueled, but again, the Nintendo Switch version is currently unavailable for any of the online websites just yet, so... But even then, we'll get both versions as soon as we can, just like in the forms of how it does it on Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, which we have the PS4 and the Nintendo Switch version, so that, well, I can essentially play those 2 at any point. Well, most notably on the Nintendo Switch version of Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy, so I can play that on the go, rather than just need rather than just hook it up into my TV or anything like that, so that could be a pretty cool thing, so... Speaking of such though, it's the fact that, what do I describe it actually? Actually, I'll get into more details onto those particular stuff until the next video, because we are done with Acorn Plains, so... Even then though, that, again, most of the levels are incredibly short this time around though, so that way makes these videos, specifically on the New Super Luigi U mode, can get pretty short this time around, so even then, I guess we'll just have to end things off at this point, just about right there, so even then, join me next time on Let's Play New Super Mario Bros. U, specifically on the New Super Luigi U Deluxe, even though I don't really know what should I call it nowadays. It's the fact that we're going to be hit off to Layer Cake Desert for a second time, so see you guys next time. Later, fellas.